August 1st, 2025, Chinese state media released footage that sent shockwaves through defense circles. A Chang'e Z-10 attack helicopter, rotor blades slicing through humid air, closing in on a United States Navy MH-60R Seahawk. The Romeo, as pilots call it, was operating in the Taiwan Strait. The Z-10 pilot's voice crackled across emergency frequencies, demanding identification, announcing interception. For over an hour, the dance continued. At one point, according to Chinese reports, just 500 meters separated the aircraft. The date was no accident. August 1st marks the founding of the People's Liberation Army. Beijing framed this as dominance. A lone Chinese pilot forcing an American helicopter to turn away from disputed waters. But in this encounter, who really held the upper hand? The answer isn't found in who blinked first. It lies in what each side gained from 60 minutes of close quarters maneuvering at 3,000 feet, and what it reveals about information warfare in the world's most dangerous flashpoint. The story begins 3 miles from waters both sides claim as their own. At approximately 1400 hours local time, over the median line of the Taiwan Strait, the MH-60R Seahawk was conducting what the U.S. Navy calls a routine transit, maritime patrol, surface surveillance, standard procedures in international airspace where American helicopters have operated for decades. But the position was anything but routine. The Taiwan Strait, just 110 miles at its narrowest point, serves as the razor's edge between two superpowers. Beijing views transits through these waters as provocations. Washington sees them as essential assertions of freedom of navigation. Every flight, every ship passage carries weight far beyond the immediate tactical picture. The MH-60R wasn't alone. According to regional defense sources, it was likely operating from a destroyer or cruiser patrolling the strait. The Romeo's mission: monitor Chinese naval activity, collect electronic intelligence, maintain the persistent American presence that has defined U.S. policy in the Indo-Pacific since 1945. Then the Z-10 appeared on radar. Scrambled from a coastal base, the attack helicopter climbed rapidly, vectored toward the American aircraft. The pilot's orders were clear: intercept, challenge, record everything for domestic consumption, make it visible, make it dramatic. What neither side publicly acknowledged was what happened next. The Z-10 closes fast. According to Chinese state media reports, the pilot announces his presence over emergency frequencies. International protocol. Then comes the demand: identify yourself, state your intentions. You are approaching sensitive airspace. The American crew responds calmly. They provide their aircraft type, confirm they're operating in international airspace, maintain course and speed, no deviation, no acknowledgement of Chinese claims. This is the script both sides have rehearsed dozens of times. Then it happened. The Z-10 pilot initiates what Beijing would later call a close tracking maneuver. He positions his helicopter within visual range. The footage released by CCTV shows exactly what Chinese audiences were meant to see. A Chinese attack helicopter, modern and capable, shadowing an American aircraft. At one point, reportedly down to 500 meters separation. Flares fired for dramatic effect. 2 bright bursts trailing from the Z-10's countermeasure dispensers. Not a threat. Theater. The Romeo's response was not what the Z-10 pilot expected. The American crew didn't break off. They didn't climb or turn. They continued their mission profile, making subtle adjustments to keep the Chinese helicopter in optimal sensor coverage. Because the MH-60R wasn't just being intercepted, it was collecting. Those pods mounted beneath the Romeo's fuselage, the bulged fairings along the tail boom, the antenna arrays bristling from every surface. They weren't decorative. The AN/ALQ 210 electronic support measure system, a digital vacuum cleaner, was recording everything. Every radar emission from the Z-10, every frequency used for radio communication, the harmonics from the helicopter's upgraded fire control system, the electronic signature of whatever EW pods the Chinese aircraft carried. All of it captured, time-stamped, cataloged for analysis. What the Chinese pilots saw as dominance, the American crew recognized as opportunity. Consider what the Romeo systems were processing. The Z-10 was operating with upgraded sensors. Newer variants, possibly the Z-10 ME configuration, feature integrated electro-optical targeting pods, radar warning receivers, and, according to reports, experimental electronic warfare suites. These are systems the U.S. intelligence community desperately wants to understand: range, resolution, frequencies, modes of operation. You can't get that data from satellites. You need proximity. The Z-10 pilot provided exactly that for over an hour. The encounter continued. The Chinese helicopter maneuvered aggressively. The American helicopter maintained station, sensors running continuously. When the Z-10 activated its targeting systems to lock the Romeo, another element of the theater, every emission discussion was recorded. When the pilot's voice came across the radio with scripted challenges, voice analysis software captured speech patterns, radio characteristics, communication protocols. The Romeo was also sharing data in real time. Link 16 tactical data link connected it to the destroyer below and through that ship to the broader U.S. naval network. Every piece of electronic intelligence was being distributed across the theater. Surface ships, submarines, intelligence fusion centers. What one Romeo collected in the Taiwan Strait, the entire 7th Fleet could now exploit. But there's more. The encounter revealed Chinese tactics, the Z-10's approach pattern, how close PLA pilots are willing to press, what maneuvers they consider intimidating, how they manage fuel during extended intercepts. These aren't technical specifications, they're operational patterns. And in a future confrontation, understanding how an opponent thinks, how they act under pressure, is worth more than any weapon system. The Chinese pilot likely reported success. An American helicopter challenged, tracked, eventually departing the area after continued pressure. Victory for the propaganda apparatus. The footage played across Chinese television, social media, state news outlets. Look at our resolve. Look at our capability. What they didn't show was the intelligence windfall Washington gained from 60 minutes of close-range collection. In the calculus of information warfare, the side that learns more from an encounter often wins, regardless of who appears dominant in the moment. If this had been a real war, the outcome was already sealed. The Z-10's electronic signature, now recorded and analyzed, could be replicated for training, used to refine countermeasures, exploited by electronic warfare systems. The next time a Chinese attack helicopter approaches an American platform, the Romeo will recognize it instantly, know its capabilities, understand its limitations. That's the hidden edge in modern warfare. At the heart of this encounter beats the MEH-60Rs and APS-153 multi-mode radar. Operating in the X-band, this system can detect surface contacts at extended ranges while simultaneously providing terrain mapping and weather penetration. But the real power isn't the radar, it's the integration. The Analco 210 ESM suite is the Romeo's secret weapon in encounters like this. The system uses multiple antenna arrays positioned around the airframe to provide 360-degree coverage of the electromagnetic spectrum. When the Z-10 activated its fire control radar, the ALQ 210 immediately classified the signal, frequency, pulse repetition rate, scan pattern. The system doesn't just detect threats, it builds a digital library of every emitter it encounters. Technically, the ALQ 210 can process hundreds of signals simultaneously, sorting hostile tracking radars from benign navigation systems from friendly IFF interrogations. In this encounter, with the Z-10 operating its upgraded sensor suite at close range, the American system was recording data with extraordinary fidelity. Signal strength decreases with distance squared. At 500 meters, the Romeo's ESM was receiving Z-10 emissions at near maximum intensity. The AN/AES-1 acoustic processor, normally used for submarine hunting, provides another advantage. The Romeo carries an acoustic library of engine sounds, rotor signatures, transmission harmonics. Even without sonar in the water, the acoustic processors were recording the Z-10's turboshaft engines, blade passage frequency, gearbox noise. These acoustic signatures can be used to identify helicopter types from audio alone, useful for both intelligence and combat identification. Another key system is the Romeo's tactical data link capability. The helicopter operates as an airborne node in the Navy's Cooperative Engagement Capability Network. Through Link 16, the Romeo can share its sensor picture with every platform in range. What it sees, the destroyer sees. What it records, intelligence analysts in Hawaii see within minutes. The Z-10 wasn't just being tracked by one helicopter, it was being tracked by an entire fleet's worth of sensors, all fusing data, all building a composite picture of Chinese capabilities. Compare this to the Z-10 systems. The helicopter reportedly carried an upgraded EW pod, possibly based on reverse-engineered Western designs. These pods can detect radar emissions and provide basic warning to the pilot, but they lack the sophisticated signal processing of American ESM systems. The Z-10 might know it was being painted by radar. It couldn't know the Romeo was cataloging every electron it emitted. The Z-10ME variant features a helmet-mounted sight system for the gunner, improved fire control computers, and hardpoints for PL-90 or TY-90 air-to-air missiles. Impressive for an attack helicopter, but designed for ground attack and close air support, not electronic warfare duels with maritime patrol aircraft equipped for intelligence collection. If it performs as intended, the integration of the Romeo's sensors transforms what appears to be a defensive intercept into an intelligence goldmine. The helicopter can sustain collection operations for hours, keeping multiple sensor systems active, recording everything across multiple frequency bands. That's the difference between an attack platform and a purpose-built intelligence collector. Beyond the tactical encounter, this is a clear example of China's gray zone warfare doctrine. Beijing uses these visible but subkinetic confrontations to achieve multiple objectives simultaneously. First, create propaganda for domestic consumption. Show Chinese military strength. Reinforce the narrative that Taiwan Strait belongs to China. Second, probe American responses. How do U.S. forces react to pressure? Where are the red lines? Third, normalize Chinese military presence in disputed areas. Make aggressive intercepts routine. The pairing of attack helicopters with coastal patrol operations has brought the PLA Air Force into confrontations historically dominated by fighter aircraft and naval vessels. And this is not the end. According to reports from Taiwan's Ministry of Defense, Z-10 helicopters have become increasingly common in exercises near the median line, suggesting a deliberate escalation in helicopter-based intercept tactics. At the broader level, these encounters reflect a shift in how China projects power, not always through new carriers or stealth fighters, but through persistent aggressive actions that challenge the status quo incrementally. Each intercept, each close approach, each propaganda video pushes boundaries slightly further. The cumulative effect is strategic erosion of U.S. freedom of action without firing a shot. The message to Washington was clear but double-edged. Beijing can make routine operations uncomfortable, risky, politically complicated, but every aggressive intercept also provides intelligence opportunities that degrade Chinese tactical surprise. The more China reveals its capabilities through these confrontations, the better prepared U.S. forces become for actual combat. For regional allies, particularly Japan and South Korea, the incident demonstrates the intensity of great power competition in the Western Pacific. Taiwan sits at the center of this rivalry. Every transit through the strait, every intercept, every propaganda video serves as a reminder that the post-Cold War era of unchallenged American military dominance has ended. The question now is whether deterrence holds or whether these gray zone encounters escalate beyond control. Current limitations shape both sides. For the Z-10, endurance is the primary constraint. Attack helicopters, even upgraded variants, have limited fuel capacity for extended patrols over water. The August 1st encounter lasted over an hour, pushing the operational envelope for coastal operations. Helicopters also lack the speed and altitude performance of fighter aircraft, making them vulnerable if confrontations turn kinetic. A single air-to-air missile from a CAP fighter could end an intercept mission instantly. Strategically, these coercive close approaches are effective for signaling and propaganda, but they risk accidents. 500-meter separation between rotary wing aircraft leaves minimal margin for error. One miscalculation, one mechanical failure, one miscommunication could turn a propaganda victory into an international crisis. Accidents have sparked wars. The EP-3 collision in 2001 nearly derailed U.S.-China relations over far less provocative circumstances. For the United States, the challenge is balancing freedom of navigation operations with escalation management. Every transit asserts American resolve, but each transit also provides Beijing opportunities to demonstrate control, to condition regional audiences to Chinese military dominance, to make U.S. presence seem like the provocation rather than Chinese aggression. The political optics matter as much as the military tactics. Magazine space on surface ships, fuel for extended helicopter operations, at-sea resupply, all impose limits on sustained intelligence collection missions. In a prolonged confrontation, can the U.S. Navy maintain persistent ISR coverage as theory suggests, or will logistics constraints force gaps that China can exploit? Many experts already see the path ahead. They predict more sophisticated Chinese intercepts, perhaps involving coordinated multi-platform approaches, perhaps escalating to electronic jamming or weapon system activations beyond mere radar locks. If that happens, the Taiwan Strait will move closer to the kinetic threshold, and when both sides operate under different assumptions about red lines, about what constitutes unacceptable provocation, the margin for miscalculation shrinks dangerously. The real question is this: can both militaries continue these intelligence gathering dances indefinitely without someone making a fatal error? Or are we watching the prologue to a crisis that neither side truly wants, but both sides are inadvertently scripting through repeated confrontation? What do you think about this encounter? Was it a Chinese propaganda victory or an American intelligence windfall? Could repeated close approaches like this spark a larger conflict in the Taiwan Strait? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more defense analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.